What is up guys, welcome back to another video and another My Top 3. Firstly, I'd like to say thank you for all the great support on the last episode. There were so many good suggestions for the My Top 3 series. Don't forget, if you want to choose the next topic that we're going to cover in the My Top 3, to leave a comment down below of what you want it to be about. That involves anything. As always, the most commented or the most thumbs up comment will be the topic of the next video. The topic of this video today, as you can see by the title, is my top 3 loaded mobility stretches. But there's also a bonus exercise looking at ankle mobility. Before we jump into today's video, I just want to mention about loaded mobility. I did actually create a pretty comprehensive basic loaded mobility routine video not so long ago on this channel. Probably a lot of you have seen it, but if you haven't seen it, then you can click on the link here. I really highly suggest you watch at least the introduction to the video, as it does talk a lot about loaded mobility, what the principles are, why we should progress slowly and why we should take it carefully. As always, you can find that and everything else I'm going to be talking about today in the description down below. But without further ado, let's jump into my top 3 loaded mobility exercises.
Jumping straight into our first exercise, and we have the Jefferson Curl. This exercise is amazing for the entire posterior chain, but this is going to be targeting mainly our hamstring and hip flexion mobility. To do this exercise, you're going to need some sort of weight. I recommend that you start slow and progress slower. Currently, I'm using a 20 kilo barbell, but you can also use a dumbbell, kettlebell, anything that weighs something. We definitely want to have some sort of intensity. Body weight is not enough, but don't run into this too fast. To start off, you want to be on an elevated surface. You're going to want to grab the weight and stand up nice and tall. We're then going to perform this position not with a neutral spine, but instead we're going to perform a curl. We want to be curling from the top of our spine, vertebrae by vertebrae, all the way down to the base of our spine. When we reach the base of our spine, we want to pause briefly in that most stretched out position, and then we want to reverse the movement using our glutes and hamstrings to pull our body back up again, curling from that base of your vertebrae back up to the top. It's very important when performing this exercise to maintain completely straight locked out legs and not bending at the knees. The reason for this is that we are looking to condition the entire muscular in the back of the leg. When we bend our knees, we take out all of that connection behind the knee of the calf and the hamstring, so we won't get the full benefits of the exercise. As always, we're going to be performing this exercise for between 5 and 10 repetitions, and on the last rep we want to pause for 10 seconds in that most stretched out position before completing the rep. The next loaded mobility exercise that I'm going to recommend is the bridge. This exercise is not only a great test of your thoracic and overhead mobility, but actually the mobility of your entire body. It's going to test your wrists, your shoulders, your thoracic, your spine, and your hip mobility to get into a proper full bridge. I'm not going to explain the form in detail here because I made a very in-depth bridge tutorial, which also provides not only the progressions on how to attain the full bridge, but supplementary exercises to perform alongside to manage any particular weaknesses you have in all the challenge aspects of the bridge. When you do have your progression that you want to use, we're going to be performing it for around 30 seconds. The only time this is going to change is if we're using something like the Ido Portal bridge rotations or bridge push-ups, where you might want to be performing it for anywhere between 8 and 12 repetitions. The next mobility exercise is the 4-position lift. This exercise is really unique in that it couples both internal and external rotation at the hips in each leg respectively. I like to use this exercise before my lower body days as a hip mobility tool, but also to help activate my glutes for the squat. To perform this exercise, you're simply going to sit with your legs in the shape of the number 4. This involves having your front leg at 90 degrees and horizontal to your body, and your back leg at 90 degrees and vertical to your body. You are then going to stand up so your hip is in a fully opened out position and stacked vertically over your knees. You're then going to sink back down and try and get your glutes as close to the floor as possible. We don't necessarily want to be touching the floor, as this will take the tension off the stretch. In this position, you should feel a stretch in both legs. One will be internally rotated and the other will be externally rotated. We're then going to want to engage our glutes to lift ourselves back out of that bottom position and into the standing open hip position. If you're feeling any pain in your knees doing this movement, this might indicate tendon weaknesses around your knees. So you might want to back off from this exercise and reduce the intensity by either using a block to sit back on or simply reducing the range of motion until the adaptations occur to those tendons. Perform this exercise for 10 reps. And then on the last rep, as usual, we're going to pause for 10 seconds in that bottom, most stretched out position. So the finest bonus exercise. So the last video got a lot of requests for not only loaded mobility, but in particular ankle mobility, which is why I chose to add this bonus exercise at the end, as it's something I do like to incorporate into my routine. I guess this exercise could be called the duck walk, and it's from Ido Portal's locomotion routine. However, I'm going to give you a couple of progressions to working up to the duck walk, as it can be quite an intense position, especially if you don't have particularly good ankle flexion. The first exercise is going to be a simple toe dorsiflexion. For this, we want to be in a somewhat kneeling position with our weight focused on one foot in particular. We are then going to move our weight forward and try and flex over our big toe in particular. We don't want to be rolling our ankle and avoiding putting the pressure on our big toe. We want to keep our feet and knee in line at all times. This is going to make sure that we keep the intensity in the area that we want to create mobility. You can take weight off and adjust intensity as wanted by placing your hands in different positions and also standing up a little bit taller. To move on to the next progression would be simply an assisted duck walk. Just like the last exercise, we're using our hands to support ourselves throughout the movement. You're going to want to perform the duck walk using the same form cues as before, maintaining the knee over the big toe, but using your hands to assist with the movement. The final progression would simply be the duck walk itself. Again, form cues, trying to keep the knee over the big toe and not rolling our ankle around to compensate. You're going to want to perform this exercise for anywhere between 10 and 20 reps. If you have any pain around your knees, just as with the exercise before, it may take some while for the adaptations to occur, so back off from this exercise and make the intensity less, and stick to simply the first progression until your mobility improves so that you can perform the rest.
That has been it for today, guys. As always, you know what to do. Hit that thumbs up button if you enjoy these sort of videos. Leave a comment down below if you have any ideas as to what the next My Top 3 could be about. And if you have a friend who is struggling with their mobility, then why not share this video with them? I'd really appreciate the support. Once again, I hope you enjoy this top 3. Apply it to your training and get some value out of it. That has been it for today, guys. Have a strong week and peace.